Hi and welcome to Cheekyricho Cooking's Rhubarb Tatin. The ingredients are in the recipe box below. Richo has grown me some gorgeous rhubarb here. We have got our induction cooker and a pan that is capable of being put into the oven. We're just going to bring that water to the boil, drop in our chopped up rhubarb with some brown sugar, which looks a lot but rhubarb's quite tart, a little bit of butter for richness and some ground cinnamon. Stew it right down, and then we've got some pastry. We're just going to roll that out, tuck it in like a blanket all around it, and then pop it in the oven to brown. Okay, just bring that to the boil, chop up our rhubarb, cut it quite fine because it has strands in it, and those strands will actually turn into like string and a bit difficult to manage when you're cutting it and serving it. And we're just going to be serving this with some lovely rich cream. You could use custard, ice cream, or even yogurt with it. So into our water, just been washed with our rhubarb, sprinkle of cinnamon, our butter. You don't need to use the butter, but it makes it nice, and some of our brown sugar. Now I'm going to put the lid on that and just gently stew that. The reason I'm doing it in this pan and not in the saucepan is I'm eliminating a little bit of washing up. So you could put apple in here, pears, any berries that you like as well, of course. And we're just going to pop the lid on that and cook it for about 10 minutes on a medium heat until it's stewed and some of that water has evaporated. Okay, just give that a bit of a stir to make sure that everything's got some cinnamon on it. We've got our pastry here. We're just going to roll that out. It's homemade short crust pastry. You could use puff here if you like as well. We need it to be the size of this pan, so you can actually use your saucepan lid as a guide, or even cut it out with that if you like. Okay, it's sweated right down, thickened this syrup significantly. Rhubarb is generally quite a red colour, and this isn't particularly red, so I'm just going to add a couple of drops of food colouring to make it look a bit more like rhubarb, but it is definitely rhubarb. Just a light pink colour, that's all we need. In with our brown sugar. We're not going to put it all in there, we're going to taste it and see how it goes first. And we just want to reduce that down a little bit more so it doesn't make our pastry soggy, which has already been rolled out to about the right size. Give or take. It's going to get tucked in around the edges anyway, and I'm going to be using this spatula for that because otherwise it's going to be too hot. Okay, I've just tasted that and it's perfect. Just the right balance of sweetness and tart. Little way to go to evaporate some of this liquid out of here first, and the oven is preheating at 180 degrees. I'm going to sprinkle some raw sugar on top of my little pastry blanket when I put it in because I like the crunch that it gives it. This is actually going to be inverted when it's served, so you're not going to see that, but it's going to be there. Turned off now. This is really syruped right down. It's quite thick. You don't want it too thin because it'll make your pastry soggy, and you don't want it too thick because it'll be gluggy and might burn. Preferably use a skillet rather than a straight-sided pan, but I need to use a straight-sided pan because I've got to be able to put it in the oven, and I don't have one that won't do that. So just peel our pastry off, pop it over the top like so, and then using a spatula, tuck it in. Don't tuck it in with your fingers for obvious reasons, and it's not going to be very easy to get along with either once it's warm from the filling. Okay, now I'm just going to sprinkle a couple of teaspoons of our raw sugar over that. 2 teaspoons there. Okay, and I'm going to poke a hole in the top of it to allow steam to escape. So you can get fancy if you want to, but it's not necessary. Okay, into an oven, 180 degrees, fan forced for about 15 or 20 minutes until it's nice and golden and brown. Okay, after 15 minutes in the oven, it's nice and crusty, hear that? And we're going to invert it onto a plate. Now, it is too hot to do it now. As I was carrying it out of the oven, it's still quite bubbly, so I'm going to let it set a little bit before placing a plate on top of it and then inverting it. Make sure when you do take something that's been in the oven out of the oven, you use something to protect your hands. Your natural reaction is going to be to grab that handle, but don't do it. We're going to cut this shortly and show you how delicious it is. Okay, this is cool just enough to manage now. We're going to pop a plate on top of it and invert it. We'll probably have to scrape out the excess and put it into our plate, but be very careful that the syrup doesn't pour onto your arm because you'll really know about it if it does. And just turn it upside down, give it a little jiggle, and there you have it. It's pretty well all come out. Now we're just going to serve that. Okay, with a dollop of double cream on there, we're going to have a taste, shall we? Some of our crisp pastry and some of our cream and some of our sweet rhubarb. Just the right amount of tart. I like the little crunch of the sugar crystals on the top, and the homemade pastry just finishes it right off. Thanks for watching.